Check 1, 2. Check 1, 2. Hey guys, it's Billy Rood from 58 Magazine, and thank you for joining in today's session. Today, I want to talk about reality because I feel like this is the most profound information that has helped me in creating and transforming any reality that I desire. So, the basic premise of what I'd like to ask you today is basically think about what is reality to you? Like this question that I was asked by my teacher is like, what do you think reality is? And at that time, the only way I was able to respond and the knowledge where I was at was saying, it is myself pushed out due to reading all the information by Neville Goddard or Goddard. I always mispronounce his last name. But and she explained it more to me, basically saying you should wake up and ask yourself every morning, what is reality to you? Because the way that you respond to that is how you create it. And I thought this was incredibly powerful because at that time I wasn't necessarily aligned to my creative ability in creating reality. And my creative ability is determined on the creative thoughts I think about myself and others. And when I was doing fashion, transitioning into more spiritual content and work, I didn't realize that I programmed myself to judge everything, to judge everyone, especially their appearance. But I also had the polarity of that, of also seeing the insecurity in people for why they need to be fashionable or have an image. So all of this helped to deepen my understanding of how my reality is a reflection of what's inside of me. And I think if you really comprehend and realize this for yourself, you'll kind of realize how collectively we also create this co-collective reality, which I want to explain energetically from a individual and a collective level. So thank you guys again for joining this video. And I'm only going to talk about what reality is in terms of energy and how everything is you push out from an individual level. And this is important to realize because if you want to transform or change, the person and the way that you think and believe right now has to transform. And there's no other way for this reality to change unless you take that full responsibility for yourself and do that. There's no one else that's going to transform you, that's going to transform your reality. Because I always mention how the collective reality, especially in certain countries, we experience collectively as you could say, symbol or a representation of that energy. I've learned that all our presidents and governments represent the collective energy of that country. So if you look at Trump, let's say politics, everything that's happening right now is a co-collective creation energetically of the people in America. So you could say Trump is an allusion to energetically realize where all Americans are at. Have Americans been thinking more negatively or positively? And whatever that we experience co-collectively, we are creating that and experiencing it outside of us. Because I can only see that because you have to understand that you have the power within you to create your reality from the inside. Because reality is expressed based on your inner world, your inner feelings, emotions, thoughts, and beliefs, your vibration and frequency. So once you start realizing that for yourself individually, and that your reality is an expression and experience of your own emotional state, you'll realize that on a bigger scale, collectively, in the broader picture, what we see in the news, politics is just an expression of America's emotional state. And you can see that being expressed as corruption in the government. Every time you have a negative thought, you have a corruption in your own mind, because you have to realize if love, unconditional love, is who we really are, everything else is an illusion. Fear, hate, anger, jealousy, rage, greed, those aren't natural emotions. Those are just guidance systems that tell you where you're at and where you need more attention or love in your life in order to receive the experience in your outer world. So I think this is really, really important to understand, because if we are all taking full responsibility of our own collective reality, then you have to start in your own individual reality. You have to realize that if there's corruption in our government, or let's say this deep state, is because when that is being brought to light, that's symbolizing the corruption that individually we are realizing within ourselves. When you don't express your soul, and let's say you take a job just for money, even though it doesn't make you happy or fulfilled, that is corruption. That is your inner corruption, where you're allowing fear and a comfort zone to be more important than your soul expression. And I think that more people become more aware of what they really want in their life, the more we'll see positive change in the world. Like the thing that I think is I love thinking about is that a lot of people operate from the ego mind rather than the heart. That's why you operate from your comfort zone, your fear, your daily loop that you live in, having the same thoughts, same beliefs, and same emotions. So we experience that as technology that is limited. But when you operate from the heart, you have unlimited energy. There's nothing that you can't do in a day. You have the intention to create, to manifest, and to experience the high emotions, the heightened emotions of life. And so when that happens on a collective level, we'll experience something like free energy. You know, the way that technology is manifest, I believe, collectively, is a symbol of how we all, as let's say, we'll take America, for example, because I live here, that, free energy will be released once we all operate from a place from the heart, because then we'll experience that reality. But until we take that leap of faith from the mind to the heart, we won't ever experience something like that, because everything is a mirror of our own internal state. So I really, really think that this is the most profound info that I've had in my own spiritual journey, to realize that only the mind sees things separate from you. And when you live in the heart, you see everything connected to you. So there is no suffering in your life unless you focus on that in your internal life. You focus on the negative emotions, the negative thoughts, the limiting beliefs, and negative realities that we are always presented here. That's why when you take a real spiritual awakening, you have to disconnect yourself from everything outside of you, because that it will only continue to show you limiting negative realities, especially if you watch the news. It's like the perfect thing to watch to lower your vibration, to lower your frequency, because every time you turn that on, you're being presented with the reality that you experience in your own mind as a frequency and vibration. A negative limiting reality will then turn your frequency into that. So whatever you watch, if you're unaware of it, will affect your own frequency and vibration. But if you're at a state and a level of awareness, you can watch anything and it won't affect you. You can actually see the comedy in it. You can see the illusion in it. Because once you remember that you're pure, unconditional love and nothing can limit you except your own thoughts and beliefs, you can watch and experience anything with a certain sense of humor, or a certain sense of levity, because it can't control you anymore unless you put your attention and focus on that and believe it as a reality that you will then eventually experience. So that is really important to be aware of right now, because as the energy from the sun is affecting us, we're receiving more and more energy to basically heighten whatever is existing inside of us. So if you have good inside of you, your reality will continue to be good. If you have bad inside of you, then you'll experience more bad, because it's only heightening what is inside of you, inside of everyone. So that's why we will also experience that outside of us collectively. Let's say we're experiencing the corruption in government, that will continue to grow when we realize the own corruption within ourselves, like I said. So if you want to experience more and more positive experiences in a collective reality, then do this work. Don't wait for things outside of you to determine your happiness. You can create it inside of you if you let go all those negative thoughts, limited realities that we continually play on loop to keep us in a comfort zone. You have to be positive, and that's the choice that you get to make every day, to become aware of what you think and believe. And if it's things outside of you, then it's keeping you in a loop. But if you start to believe in yourself and no one else, and you think positive, then I guarantee you your reality will change. And the only thing that keeps you from disciplining your own self and your own mind is the programming that you have inside your mind. And you experience is thoughts, because thoughts come from a place of lack. If you have a lot of thoughts in your mind, then that's keeping you in lack, because you wouldn't have the thought unless you needed something, unless you desired something outside of you that didn't exist inside of you. So really, really become aware of what goes on inside of you from your thinking, from your beliefs, because your true state is actually in eternal silence. You experience this when you're in love, when you're making love, when you kiss someone, your mind goes quiet, because that is your true essence, your true self. And we've just forgotten that due to the programming and the noise that we give our attention to, our awareness to, rather than feeling. Because once you start thinking, you start talking to yourself, and that generates emotional poison in the body, because now you're split in two rather than being a unified, complete, and whole individual. So really become aware that if you spend your time thinking, you're draining your energy instead of feeling, because feeling is the cause of all manifestation. It is it is energy in motion called emotion, which is a feeling that you feel within the body. And that is how you create safety and comfort in the body, by feeling. Because when you meditate, you're able to stop the thinking. You can stop thinking, your internal dialogue. And this is very important as a skill, because you need to stop the dialogue if you want to create anything new in your life. Everything that you've experienced so far in your life is because you felt it, you've thought it. And in order to manifest things instantly and quickly that will give you the energy of excitement and joy is by feeling it like a child, using your imagination to benefit your life by creating new emotions that then create new scenes, new experiences that then generate and create manifestations with momentum and excitement, and things just keep getting better and better. And then there is no lack that exists within your consciousness, because you know who you really are. And this just takes discipline. It takes commitment to yourself and to become aware of your energy. And if a thought makes you feel less, if you ever thought like the world just needs to change, that makes you feel lack inside. That doesn't make you feel good. But when you realize I create the change in the world by changing myself, that's so empowering. It might be a little frightening, only because you don't know your true strength or power, but eventually it'll feel empowering for you. And this is it's the most profound info, because once you realize that everything is an extension, a hologram coming from inside of you, then nothing is as concrete as it is. It is only as concrete as you believe it to be. And once I realized this, understanding quantum physics and the holographic nature of reality, reality is really a video game, but that video game is only a concept from the mind, because the mind, projects things outside of you as games, because it's in duality. There's a left and right side of the hemisphere. So you experience games which are called thoughts. And these thoughts create these squid games inside of your mind to show you where you are, if you're in lack or in abundance. And you experience these games in lack when you're forced to make a choice. But the whole point of these games is to not make a choice to play them, to know who you are and realize that you don't need to experience winning or losing to have a great reality, to experience a great reality, because you don't need to play those games that split your energy in two. But those games are like sports. You can play them to then have a an enemy or a villain, but that is only there to help you remind you who you really are. Let's say you're like, you want to play a game, but you want to realize, how powerful actually am I actually at this game? How creative, how skillful, how disciplined. And then you need an opponent in order to experience that. So if you want to play a game, know that you'll always have an opponent to test you. But if you already know how powerful you are, you don't need an opponent. You just need to realize that your focus and concentration creates your reality. And I also want to share some info about the nature of reality, because I think this has only benefited me in terms of a deeper level of experience. So if you think, everyone talks about reality being a simulation, but remember, you create the simulation. This is your video game. This is your matrix, your reality of limitation until you remember who you are, which is eternal silence, unconditional love, and unlimited potential. And basically, we are energy dreaming in matter, and the matter that we experience are called thoughts. Because from an energetic level, seeing thoughts, I like to show as symbolize, I like orcs in Lord of the Rings. Those negative limiting thoughts are all thoughts, look like an orc energetically. They look like demented, deformed matter. So this simulation that you experience is what you create when you open your eyes. When you open your eyes, you experience your own emotional state, it's showing you where you're at. And so your reality is a game of thoughts playing with matter that creates deep realities until you, the dreamer, wake up. So you're in a simulation, in a matrix until you wake up, just like Neo, that you're in a limited program of lack, and you experience that every day until you realize how powerful you are in creating reality. That's what true spiritual awakening is. And the dark night of the soul is realizing when you haven't believed in yourself, when you've held yourself back because of these limiting thoughts and beliefs. That's the experience, the pain that you have to experience of the mind, because the mind is in pain. It needs love. It needs nurturing, which is always symbolized in the Star Wars films, and which I think is so beautiful, because the mind is like Darth Vader and Kylo Ren, and that journey from being a Jedi to an enlightened spirit is to love the mind out of its pain by, no matter what it says to you, by identifying the negative limiting pattern and choosing to only see the love, the good in the mind, no matter what it says, because it's programmed to hate, to judge, to, see itself separate from everyone, to see itself better or less than everyone, to either be a victim or to be something that needs to be changed in order to be happy. So when you realize that, then you need to also understand and think about, there's controllers of this reality. This reality was created. And from my experience and things that were shared to me in a mystery school, that this reality was created by the Greys, by extraterrestrials, because they have basically evolved to a point where they do not experience emotions, where they've drained that capability, that creative potential inside of them in order to be technologically advanced. So then they created this reality and went back in time to help heal their species, which is the future version of us, to realize our power and not to get lost through technology and the intellect, but to remember that the heart is the most powerful force in creating and being a creator of this universe. So that was told to me in a mystery school, that the Greys created this reality, but you also have no idea who you're messing with when you're trying to change this reality, because this reality has a purpose. And that purpose is to not change it, but to change yourself. Because of everything in this reality is a simulation, a expression, and a mirror of what's happening inside of you individually and collectively, then you can just imagine that any person, any celebrity or figure that has tried to change it, they've been killed, they've been murdered, they've been limited because that's not their purpose in life. You came here with a gift and a purpose. And if you spend all your energy trying to fight the purpose, fight the lack programming of this reality, then you're going to get killed because you're just wasting your incarnation here. You're not meant to try to change something that is purposely created to help us remember who we are. So that's why you hear a lot of celebrities and people trying to fight the system. They get killed because that wasn't their purpose. And a lot of conspiracy theorists think that changing this reality on the outside is the only way to do that. But it's just a mirror of everything collectively on the inside. So when you try to change this reality, know that it's not going to go well for you. You're going to basically have to start over and remember your purpose and why you're here. And that's how you exit this reality. If you want to leave this reality, believe in yourself, do what you came here to do and create, because the whole point of this reality is to learn how to manipulate energy to create realities of yourself. You want to experience what it's like to feel love, to feel excitement, to feel joy. So we needed a physical experience to then experience that. Like God separated himself or the universe so he could experience himself. The universe, she wanted to experience love. So instead of being being a universe, it split itself in two so it could experience the feeling of being loved, because that's who we really are. So when you think of that idea of the universe in this reality, then the only evil and bad that you are faced or what's inside of you. And fear is not real because that's your body's reaction telling you that you have a foreign installation inside of you. Fear is not real. It's your body just telling you you have a foreign entity, a foreign installment, which is known in shamanism as thought, as a parasite. Because when you think of all thought, it's coming from a place of lack, it limits you. So it's like a parasite. It's feeding off your energy because it's convincing you of a negative reality. And that's when you experience something like suffering, because you believe the thoughts to be more real than the feeling of a limited potential and love inside of you. So just think about that. I think all this is very interesting to think about because it's different from mainstream spirituality, from the new age, what I call like BS, because in the end, you don't need anything outside of you to ascend. You know, the only push that we need is energy. And men have the toughest road to ascension because we are born at the root, at the lower chakras. And so we need a feminine physical push to get us out of those lower realities. While women are already born at the second chakra, they're closer to God, to the heart. So all they need to do is go within. And women are so powerful that's why this reality presents so many other negative realities to you, because you're that powerful. It wouldn't be showing that unless you weren't. So you need to realize that your power comes within you, and men, you need a feminine energetic push in order to get yourself out of the root, to get yourself out of sexual desires, procreation, and lower negative realities of, let's say, like seduction, lust. In order to get out of there, you need more love for yourself, unconditional support, nurturing, and care. And if you really want to ascend, you need to find a partner that's physically and mentally strong and supportive, someone that will tell you the truth and force you to break down the barriers that hold you back from your potential. And so I'm only going to share with you the stuff that was told to me in mystery schools, because you all can find the new age stuff anywhere online. I'm going to present and show to you the stuff that you don't hear, that will only confront your ego, which is your own matrix, So know that whatever that this reacts inside of you is for your own benefit, is for you to disconnect from the illusions that you've believed in for so long, to then help you to realize that there's more to this and a deeper experience of reality by just realizing the truth of where you are and where you want to go. So this is the information that will get you there. So what I talked about before is all presidents represent that nation. So right now you could say Trump represents America. And politics is just a manifestation of action, reaction, of intent and manifestation. So when you're on that timeline of action and reaction, you become an experience of linear timeline. You experience things every day linearly instead of being able to see life beyond time, where you're able to experience a manifestation in the present moment right now, a future of a version of your future self in the present moment, which is a linear timeline. It's a multi-dimensional timeline. So if you believe in politics, if you follow politics, you're going to be on a linear timeline. You aren't going to see things beyond time, beyond past and future, because now is the experience and presence of now is the only way to experience multi-dimensional time. So that's why you have to experience being neutral, being bipartisan, not caring about Republican or Democrats. Because if you do, keeps you on a limited timeline, keeps you on the timeline of good versus evil, of them versus me, of duality. So in order for everything to change on the outside, it has to change on the inside. Because remember, that is the purpose of this reality, to not to change it, but to change yourself. Don't allow this reality to change you, because you can say this simulation is like hell because there's so many variations of suffering. But you're not here to change that. Once you change yourself, everything else changes in your reality. That's just the basic program, the basic simulation and video game that we signed up for. Because this is an illusion of Earth. Let's say that there's roughly 7.5 billion people on the Earth, and 2.5 billion are real, and 5 billion are actually projections, which are copies of someone right now. So this is the concept that is known as NPCs in video games, that there's characters basically operating off their programming. There is no purpose or soul expression because they're lost in their own loop and train of thought. So this can also be projections. They can be your parents, your siblings, or friends, because you have to realize we're such strong creators that we create people, places, things, times, and events based on your emotional frequency. So when you think of people in your life, they're showing you where you're at. You know, when I talk to people and get to know them when they become a client, the first time I ask them, how's your relationship with your parents? Because for women, your mother represents your mind and your father, your heart. They are projections of what exists inside of you from thought and belief. And also for men, your fathers represent your mind and your mother, your heart. So for me in my life, my father was a journalist. And so he believed in a lot of negative, limiting realities. And for myself, I realized and we fought a lot. He believed in a lot of things that I didn't agree with, that I thought weren't neutral, that weren't compassionate. So we fought a lot. But then once I realized that he was a expression, a mirror of my own internal judgmental thoughts and beliefs, that started to transform. And my mom represents my heart because every time I have a struggle or a problem in my life, she gives me abundant energy. She shows me the way that I think, the way that I feel. And once you realize that they're only teachers, that they're only showing you where you are and where you can either grow, then you start to transform and realize that there's more beneficial things with those experiences in your life. rather than the the struggling of a family. Because that's I love the concept of family because it's the best teachers. It's the best way to show you where you're at, but also where you can grow because they only show you that. And um that level of reflection is so important to realize because let's say your family has been divorced or separated. For me, I'm adopted. So that made me realize that maybe in my past life I had such a huge ego that I separated myself from my family, that I didn't necessarily feel the positivity of that experience of family. So there's a lot of things I realized being adopted, basically. Um, it also forced me to create more unconditional love for myself and others due to never knowing what that really was. And that's the benefit of being adopted. But I also have an entire past that I have no idea about. I don't know if there are any baby pictures of me. So there's little things like that about my past that I just will never know. But that has helped me to also focus on my future because that is the only thing I do know and can control. So I hope this information is interesting to you. I know there's a few people commenting on YouTube. If you have any questions, I would love to answer some. So free to keep commenting and I will answer them. And feel free to ask anything personally, um, bigger picture, anything. Be happy to help clarify. And so, whatever exists in your consciousness, you will create in order to experience it in physical reality, because we all are quantum generators of energy. We attract energy based on our own frequency and vibration. And so, our bodies hold the entire spectrum of every emotion in order to experience that we can create or destroy from being conscious or unconscious, from being ignorant or knowledgeable. And this reality then is like a school. And right now we are experiencing the final test. We're experiencing every single limited choice to only help you remember who you are. Because you have to realize that everything that we're being presented is like a test. Because if we're here to remember who we really are, we're going to be shown every negative limiting reality possible. And you get to choose to believe that or not. And I know this might be really hard for a lot of people to believe because there's so many things that want to trigger your emotional state of feeling extreme sadness or extreme anger and hate. And you want to change that. But that is only there because it's forcing you to realize where you're at. And if you want to change that, you have to change yourself. But if you also don't want to experience a better timeline, it's going to use that to drain your energy because they call this a huge harvest of energy from parasitic entities. You know, we live on the concept of Lord of the Rings, we live in Middle Earth. We're in the middle between higher dimensions and densities and lower densities. So we're in the middle. We get to choose higher realities or negative ones. And so everything that we're being presented will shift you into that frequency. But most of the time, you realize that it's going to limit you. It's feeding off of you. So it's a harvest of your energy. And that's going to keep you from experiencing perfect health, abundance, and positive realities. Because abundance is just energy, always abundant energy. And I know that some of the headlines or things that we're being presented will make you triggered, but it's meant to trigger you to change you. You don't have to believe it to be so real because then if you do, you'll experience it in your reality. And this is something that I keep telling everyone because if you believe in something outside of you to make you happy, then you've believed an illusion. You've basically put yourself in a dream state. And in order to wake up from that, You're going to be presented with more negative realities, more negative headlines, more negative uh, suffering, because you can't be impressed by suffering. So many people are impressed by suffering. When I'm like, why not be impressed by like positive timelines? Because you don't see that much these days. But once you start realizing the game, the matrix is showing you the negative realities to keep you from your heart, then it's comical. It's hilarious. That's why I talk to most of my friends and uh, a lot of my spiritual circles. Like I always say, like, what's up, low vibers? Because it's like, this is such a game. This is such a silly um, experience once you're on the other side or living from the heart, because you realize, all it's like a bully. All bullies come from a place of lack. They need more love. They just need to be hugged. They need positive affirmations. They need comfort. They need things that will make them feel whole. So once you see these headlines, it's just funny because you're like, they just need love. Look how much love is needed in the world. But there's nothing that you can do to change that except love yourself. That's the illusion, that you need to do something outside of you. You just need to do this inside of you. Um, that's why I always joke with people. It's like penetrate yourself. Don't try to do anyone else or anything else outside of you, because all you need to do is wake up from your own head, your own matrix that limits you and doubts you. Um, and this experience of life has 7 levels, 7 different bodies, 7 experiences of consciousness, 7 fields of awareness for you to prove true love. This is your own fairy tale if you choose it. And there are 7 realizations of or levels of consciousness and understanding. And these 7 levels are of reproduction and survival, fear and pain, power, felt love, expressed love, God seen in all life, and God I am. So right now we are experiencing collectively the third chakra of power. So you're going to experience, so collectively we all experience our own form of desire of power. If you need power in a job or a title, then there's not a lot of love in your life because your energy's at the heart. So we'll experience a lot of that as people in power are now going to be shown that they've actually been corrupt, because all forms of power corrupt unless it's inside of you. Because your own personal power is knowing that your true self is your imagination, is your creative ability in terms of thought and belief. So determine on where you're at in these 7 levels of understanding and awareness of these games. You'll experience that outside of you. So if you experience a mirror showing you reproduction and survival, people living in survival and fear, then you're at the second chakra. If you're at a level where you're feeling love from people around you constantly, then you're operating from the heart. If you're at a level where people outside of you are expressing their love and their passion, their creativity, then you're at the next chakra, and at the crown, or the throat chakra. And at the crown, you start seeing God in all life. You're seeing people, places, things, times, events as different forms of source or God in the universe expressing themselves. You aren't attached to them, but you know that they're also not separate from you. And then when you realize who you are from above the crown, or the crown, um, the third eye is God seen in all life, which makes sense because your perception of people aren't separate from you. You see it as coming from you, seeing yourself in all forms of life. And then the crown is God I am, knowing that you are the creator of your reality. There's no lack or limit unless you put that lack or limit inside of you. And that's the experience that you remember who you are. You remember your pure bliss, pure creativity, and pure joy and excitement. So until you become aware of those levels and how reality just shows you what level that you're at, then you'll be able to transform. But if you keep pushing and doubting everything outside of you, blaming it for the reason for you to not be happy, then you need to realize you're still under the heart. You're still in lack. You're still in programming. You're in the matrix. And the only way out of that is to be positive. If there's people in your life that make you feel negative, that force you or make you feel unhappy, love them. See them differently in your mind's eye because you're just creating that because it's just showing you your own state of being. You can't be like, oh, that person is awful and evil because they treat me that way. It's because you treat yourself that way. You think about yourself that way. You're not positively enforcing a positive state inside of you. So then you're going to experience that outside of you. They're only showing you where you are. So this is really important to comprehend because then you stop acting like a victim. You start creating what you want. You stop listening to outside influence and realize that like, oh, thank you for telling me where I'm at. I've had that experience recently where at work, where I was told some feedback I didn't like. And so it triggered something inside me to realize, oh, what do I actually want in this position or this job? And are these in the leadership that I have, are they just showing me where they are at or where I am? So part of me had to basically realize what were they showing me inside of me that I needed to change in order to have a better, abundant reality. And most of the time, I just said, I disconnected from everything that was told outside of me and was like, I just need to focus on what I want, what I need, and what I can create. So whatever that happened to me outside of this for a good reason, and it forced me to change. It forced me to be more aware of what I do want and then focus on the things that my soul wanted to express, which might not make a lot of sense to everyone else, but you can't let other people determine your own joy and happiness. For me, I might want to do a project that sounds super silly. It makes no sense to someone, but that's me expressing my potential, my gift, my creative ability. So know that once you get to that place, then you're more free than most people because you're able to create stuff that makes you happy. But then that alone will make other people happy. And that's the whole gift of this reality that you can create happiness for people. That's all that matters. Because if you are in negative states, you can't you can't do that. So just realize that you get yourself out of that negative state of being, that matrix, by being positive, no matter what. And see this world as a spiritual school that we experience a material world because it is energy that's condensed into matter. And the thing that my teacher told me that takes me a hard while to grasp, or at least for my ego, is that we all are here because we didn't take God seriously. We basically had a chip on our shoulder and was like, God's not that powerful. We aren't necessarily aligned to that concept that maybe we've conditioned ourselves to believe in potential, to believe in our own unlimited potential. So basically, we've conditioned ourselves to then experience a world of more conditioning to show us, do you really think believing conditions is going to benefit yourself? If you condition other people saying, like, oh, that person isn't that great because of this and that, you're conditioning your own self. So now you're here and experiencing conditions or your own conditions to prove that being conditional with your love and energy never serves you. It never creates positive experiences in your life. That's why you have to learn how to be unconditional loving to everyone. You can't judge someone if you don't know them. You can't, tell your partner you love them, but then disagree or like decide to not love them based on a belief. That's not being unconditional and loving. If someone is going through a program in your life and you're knowing that's not benefiting them, then just be more loving because those are the people that actually need it rather than judging them for believing in negative realities. So a lot of people think that you need to be successful and popular and gain a following and fans and whatever. That's still the matrix. the only thing that I feel like I need to do in this life is to be happy and make everyone, or not make, is to create happiness for those all around me. I think that's the purpose of this reality, is to not seek abundance, fame, clout, or attention, but to just create happiness, because that's how you help people remember who they really are. That's why I love movies, because you see people's creative potential in creating emotions for people that they don't necessarily create for themselves. So that's why I really, really desire to create a feature film where after anyone watches, you can meet your soulmate, because I want to remind people that you have that feeling inside of you, of your soul, that you might not experience most everyday life. I only feel like I know that feeling in my soul because being adopted and not knowing so many things forced me to go inside, forced me to realize the difference between being aware of your soul and your ego. So that is why I feel like I can make a film that can create that emotion inside of you to then help you remember that you can find your soulmate at any time, any place, anywhere, just from a feeling. So that's my desire. My only purpose in this life is to create stuff that I know I've wanted to see as a child. That's why all my content for 58 is all the stuff I've wanted to see when I was a child, because it wasn't created. So I was like, I'm just going to create it. And I know a lot of my stuff's out there, kind of heady and intellectual, but it's the best way I can express myself, of the knowledge that I receive in meditations and the stuff that I tracked and when I read. Sometimes when I myself in meditation, I'm like, I want to feel the most abundant, most empowering knowledge and information that I can. And then once I get in that state, I like do some research online, and then I get this book that comes to me, and I'm like, oh, this is a great information to help me explain your shadow self in Fight Club. Or I find information online. I was like, oh, this is great information that explains the spiritual journey in uh, Groundhog Day. So like things just come to you when you're in that level of excitement, creation, and non-ego and fear. And that's why I feel like ever since I was little, the greatest stories, the greatest inspiring legends were just about love. Were just about magic and the power of creating from inner peace and energy. So this is what you all came here to learn. And you're playing a cosmic video game. And this is how the game is played, from a conceptual basis. So every man and woman, you'll experience thousands of threats to your inner happiness and inner peace, from fire, flood, epidemics, earthquakes, disease and disaster, war, and the threat of annihilation. These are the outer threats. The inners are psychic multitudes of weaknesses, imperfections, selfishness, stupidity, envy, hate, and evil and greed that create pain to yourself and everyone around them. So that's the concept of this game, the inner and outer threats to your happiness and inner peace. Once you realize that, you're going to be like, oh, you're just a silly villain, that's all you're supposed to do and say. And you could just realize, like, whenever it's happening to you, it's like, oh, I'm sorry you didn't have love in your life. Like, what happened to you? It's more funny. Because then you see everything outside of you. You might believe it's real, like the fire, flood, epidemics, earthquakes, disease, and disaster, war and the threat of annihilation. Realize those are just illusions trying to help you remember who you really are. Like, and also Mother Earth is cleansing herself of parasitic entities or humans, so she's going to get rid of anything and everything that causes that isn't natural on Earth. So if you see all these natural disasters, it's the Earth like cleansing. It's like yourself deworming yourself, doing a parasite cleanse. So Mother Earth is doing the same from all kinds of natural disasters. And there's all these are infinite distractions from playing the single most important game of your life. And you're playing the game of creating you. That's why it's so important to know, who am I? Why am I here? And you create and heal yourself from the most powerful energy in the universe, and that's love. And so the three keys to become not only a philosopher, awakened person, to initiate, to then a master, is that you have to be completely different from the mainstream. You have to think different. You have to go against the grain. You can't be afraid to say no. You're completely wrong. And you have to conquer your fears. That's the only way to light up the dark, to become aware of the darkness inside of you, which then you'll experience outside of you. And then you have to love yourself enough to change. You have to just say, fuck it. You have to be at a point where you're like, you can continue to do things, same thing over and over, just like, fuck it. It could be actually great. That's how you become a master of your own energy and your own potential. And when you're in that state of vulnerability, of all these distractions, you're going to be manipulated. You're going to feel insecure. You're going to start to lose the energy and the life force in your life, all because of these negative beliefs. So always trust in the wisdom of feeling good. Do the things that make you feel good and take out everything that doesn't make you feel good. Never go against that internal, you know, the feeling inside of you that makes you feel great, because you're going to start to force a belief on yourself that then doesn't make you feel great inside. And that's basically corrupting yourself. Everyone's really corrupted right now and they don't know it. They believe in and make excuses to not doing what they know they need to be doing. And that's only because of the ego, the matrix, these infinite distractions, being victimized. So just know that's the game. So just choose to play a different game. Choose to turn off the mind, turn off the video game, just like you would in real life. Turn off the video game and be like, okay, what can I do today that'll make me happy, and just do it. So never give up on those dreams, because they're there for a reason. That's why you're here. Your soul wants to express itself, wants to experience things it's never had. So follow that intuition that's guiding you, that's making you feel like, I want to do this. And then you'll experience the full potential of this reality, and you'll leave it, because there's nothing that you haven't created that you can't experience. So once you get to a point like you're Frodo in Lord of the Rings, where after he's let go of every desire in his mind, basically his desire is the idea that you need something outside of you to create your own happiness. When you can create your own happiness inside of you by not having any desires. So once he lets go of that ring, he experiences that emptiness of eternal peace inside of us and love, that then he leaves that reality because there's nothing more for him. He's complete and whole. And then you exit this reality, because that's the whole concept of ascension, is that you have to transform from negativity to positivity, from limitation and lack to abundance. And that's why having a spiritual life is more important than the physical. Yes, it might be good to be healthy and work out, but it doesn't matter at all compared to having a pure physical life. Because most of the time, the people that do work out, they only need it because they have a sense of lack and negativity about themselves spiritually, in their body and how they look and feel. But it's just the image. You can be incredibly fit but have horrible personal spiritual hygiene. So just know that the spiritual hygiene is more important than the physical. And that's pretty much everything that I've wanted to talk about today, in understanding this reality and why you're all here. I don't think that it's as complicated that most people realize. A lot of people just want to fight you on their own state of consciousness instead of change. So once you realize that everyone has their own adventure to experience, you got to let go of controlling people in order for you to be happy. Let them experience their own reality. We all have different paths and levels to take. If they need to experience more suffering, more negative realities, let them do that. That's their journey. And you can still be, the only way to change this reality, help people, is be an example. don't let their negative states affect you. Realize that helping people feel good and be happy is more important than being right. Because a lot of time, most of the time, people just want to be right, but that only shows your fear of your own capability and potential. And I just think it's funny. I think everything is a lot more comical than it needs to be. I think just looking at politics, it's like watching someone being a fan of a sport or a team and someone who's not a fan of a sport and team. It's just like someone's going to get hurt, and it's going to be really funny because, with a sport, politics, there's always a winner and a loser. But I think the only thing that's different in this political environment is that I think because we're all changing, that we're going to see a politician and politicians or that world, people are changing, which hasn't in the past. Because all the government, even if you look at the two branches of the government, they're all manifestations of our own ego and our own mind. Because there's two hemispheres, there's two parties, there's red and blue, just like the parties, and all that is a energetic representation of polarity. So once you're able to see things from a more outside perspective, none of that stuff really matters because it's just the game. It's showing you the matrix, showing you how it's played, and you get to choose to believe in it. You get to choose in lack or abundance. You get to choose in being right or being free. That's the point of this reality. You all have your own little bubble that you get to create and experience. So don't judge anyone else in their own choices and their beliefs. And the more that you can be unconditional to those experiences and those people, you'll realize that they're just showing you your own self in a way. They're just showing you where you're at. So, like, have fun with it. Don't take it so seriously. If there's people that want to intimidate you with their suffering, or they want to contradict you into thinking positive by believing in only their let them, who cares? Let them experience their horror movie. Let them experience their adventure or their thriller while you can focus on the movie that you want to experience. And that will only tell you where the level of consciousness that you're at. So yeah, that's my stick for today. This is going to be an ongoing bi-weekly, maybe weekly series on my YouTube to just help people have more clarity and guidance in their life and this transition to change in reality, and know that anything is possible with your union of your mind, body, and soul. So feel free to comment on this video as it will be live for everyone to view as a subscriber, and join my membership where I offer weekly and bi-weekly sessions to help you transform your inner state to match the outer reality you want to experience. And you have to learn this discipline in order to exit this negative reality and matrix so you can experience the benefits of this reality, the positive idea of transformation. Because to be honest with you, there's times, I am challenged with my reality of lack, where I know my consciousness sways from abundance and lack all the time, because it is showing me times where I believe in, where I think a lot of stuff from my past affects my energy, not knowing my past has this void where I don't know how to fill it. I don't know how to become whole when I don't know the story of my past. And I know it's still part of this matrix and illusion. We're all created, we all choose the parents and the family and the development of our consciousness. But that unknowing of myself 4 years to my creation, there's a void in me. And so sometimes I experience amazing abundance and the lack of that due to this void inside of me. But that is also a part of my matrix pyramid, which I've learned from an initiated Tibetan monk and my mystery school teacher, where I've learned to identify the sacred geometry and the energy of your being, which is called the matrix pyramid, which I can mathematically and describe your energy from the same information of your astrology, the date, time you were born, and the location. By then learning the mathematics of your own sacred geometry and your own energy to help you just to learn that there's three triads that you experience of your energy of planning, action, and enjoying. And for me, in my own sacred geometry of my energy, I have 3 years of a void, 3 years of the unknown. So I experience extreme disconnections, letting go, and transformation and change within my energy in a 7 year period. And basically, what I can do is find out your energy and how it cycles in 7 year periods, 8 year periods, 6 year, it's different per person. So for me, it's every 7 years. And every 7 years, my energy goes through a cycle. And within those 7 years, my energy is experienced in different ways every year. And within those 7 years, there's 3 years of a void, of extreme transformation. And the thing that I shared in my last email was that I believe I have that experience because I really wanted to experience unconditional love. I was adopted in a family and given the name William Lawson Rood, which spiritually is like the will of I am, the law, a son of God, which was Jesus who's been crucified. And I have all these scars on my wrists and my feet that are very strange, like of being crucified. So I know my path is this unconditional love of being aware of that state of consciousness, because everything that has been experienced in my life is teaching me that, is teaching me, every relationship I've been in, people broke up with me. I didn't do it. So I learned unconditional love from that, for my own self, even though that experience was probably created because I believed in that or wanted that. So if you want to learn more about your own energy, your own matrix pyramid, I offer that as a offering on my site, along with my membership with these weekly guided meditations and these sessions to help bring you clarity and guidance in your life. And I highly recommend the matrix pyramid if you really want to know more about your own energy and how you experience certain things in your life due to that energy. Because there's times where in certain years you need to be more expressive, where you need to be more internal. You need to plan more. You need to be more action, or you need to enjoy more of your life. So if you want to learn that, it's an amazing practice I learned, again, called the Matrix Pyramid from an initiated Tibetan monk and my mystery school teacher, where I also learned that this can kind of prophesize every year for you, but there's also ways that this can be learned where it can show you and tell you what every day is going to be like for you, even the month or the hour. And I sometimes feel like people do this for politicians or people in power that want to really take advantage of spiritual info. But for me, I don't want to do that. I want to help individuals like you to learn more about yourself, to become more knowledgeable about what you want to experience in the world by knowing your own energy and how to take advantage of it. So again, thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to join my membership, to join me in these sessions, Q&As, weekly guided meditations to help you raise your consciousness and experience the reality of your dreams. So thank you guys again, and hope you guys have a wonderful day. And peace out.